Hello humans and future AI overlords. So you've all heard the term TLDR, the too long didn't read. That's something that, we get bombarded with just so much content and information all the time. So one of the features I really love with a lot of these new AIs is their ability to summarize content. So I'm going to walk through a few examples now. I am using Safari with Google Bard. Normally I use Google Chrome, but I'm trying Google Bard in Safari. So in this experience today, I'm going to try and summarize text, URLs, documents, from the perspective of products, articles, and books, and we'll see how it goes. But basically, you'll just want to ask to, well, why don't we just ask the prompt? Okay. So, how do I ask you to summarize items? Okay, yeah, let's just use the tool. So you can ask it to summarize items by providing me the following information. The type of information you want me to summarize. For example, it could be a news article, a research paper, a book, a website. The specific text you want me to summarize. So providing a link or a copy of the text. That's one thing I really, copying and pasting text. I do that a lot with the OpenAI tool, but in these tools that are connected to the internet, I really, like not having to copy and paste text. Many times when I was trying to use ChatGPT and using the 3.5 language model, the text was just too big for it, and it was just kind of annoying. So then it's the length of summary you want. So basically purpose, length, and detail. And then there's some examples, summarized news articles about the new COVID-19 variant. Very timely. Summarize research papers on the effects of climate change in the Arctic. Excellent. Summarize the book The Martian by Andy Weir. Summarize the website for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Wow. Okay. No, that's really cool. So I'll try to provide you with a comprehensive informative summary of the item you request. So here's some additional things to keep in mind when asking you to summarize items. The more specific you are about the type of item and the specific text you want me to summarize, the better the summary I'll be able to provide. The longer the text, the longer the summary will be. I may not be able to summarize all items accurately. If you're not satisfied with the summary I provide, you can ask me again with different parameters. Okay, so I pulled up a couple websites. So I am a big fan of Walt Disney World, and I normally have annual passes, but of course COVID is just, caused me not to have annual passes for a long time. Now I just watch videos of people visiting Walt Disney World. But anyway, so they're bringing back annual passes, and let's take a look at the summarization skills. So I'm just gonna basically ask Google Bard to summarize and provide key points, and then I put in the URL to the site. So it provides me a summary of the different pass options, credit pass, horse search pass, pirate pass, and then, giving me, points to consider which to choose. To choose our annual pass, you consider your needs and budget, if you want flexibility or when to pay a higher price. So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to ask, which annual pass would you recommend for someone who lives in Orlando and likes to visit a few times a month during off-season? So give it a little context. All right, so if you live in Orlando and like to visit Walt Disney a few times during the off-season, I would recommend the Disney Pirate Pass. It offers admission to all the parks during off-season with no blackout dates. It includes standard theme park parking discounts. So that's great. So I think that's a really good, and the cost is, significantly cheaper than the other. So why waste money paying for a pass that I wouldn't really use? Even though normally I just buy the no blockout dates, give me everything pass, because that's just, when I want to go, I just want to go. But the cool thing about Disney is that if you've got a pass, you can upgrade that pass to a different version. So that's cool. So I don't, so that's the annual pass. Now there is a PDF on the site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it can summarize the PDF about the passes. And that was linked off the annual pass site. So let's see, summarize this document. So this is a link to an online PDF. Okay, so it's identifying pass options. So it looks like it's just providing some of the text from the PDF. I wouldn't say this is, when we compare it to the actual PDF, it doesn't even pull in any of the prices. It almost feels like the summary, the summary is worse than the actual PDF. But the PDF was kind of graphical. So anyway, that was just, I wanted to see, can it actually go inside of a PDF and look at the content, which it looks like it can, but maybe that's depending on the PDF. So let's look at another kind of summary option. So terms and conditions. So we get bombarded with approve these terms and conditions, and I've never read them, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Google Bard to, let's see here, I'm going to ask to summarize this so it's easy to understand, and it's a link to those terms and conditions. And when you look at the terms and conditions, so that's pretty good. What is covered? What do I agree to? Providing accurate information, not using the services for illegal or unauthorized, not sharing your account with others, not damaging the service. What can Apple do? Cancel, remove. What are my rights? So I mean, from this TNC here, which there's a lot. There's so much here. It's like, who wants to read all this? This just is so much stuff. So, just having Bard go out and summarize, what is covered, what do I agree to, what can Apple do, what are my rights, how do I contact Apple? That's pretty fantastic. So another example is there's an article I came across about, from Microsoft about will AI fix work? And what I want to do is I want to see, is this article relevant for some of my colleagues at work? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Bard to summarize. So I'm going to say, summarize this for a colleague at work, and I just put in the link to the URL. Sure, here's a summary of the article, will AI fix work for your colleague? So AI has the potential to transform work. It can automate tasks, it can improve communication and collaboration, it can lead to job displacement. But to mitigate the risks of AI, business need to invest in upskilling and reskilling. They need to develop new ways to measure and reward employee performance, as traditional metrics may no longer be relevant. This is, I think, a really great, and this gives some statistics, which I think is fantastic. So this is a great overview I can send in addition to the link to a colleague that will, instead of just getting a link, hey, read this, or this is interesting, it's here's a breakdown, here's the article if you want to dive in deeper, which is, I think, great. So I get asked all the time about which phone should I buy, and there's so, I love giving advice about stuff like that, but there's so much context that sometimes I don't really understand. So, when you're out, I tell people to go to the Apple site, do the compare for the devices. You can pick your current device and maybe the next two devices, and then just see how they compare. But sometimes these tech specs don't really mean much to folks. So I want to see how Bard will do if it can summarize the following products for a potential customer, and I'm saying to summarize the iPhone 14 Pro and the iPhone 14. Let's see if it can summarize two products and how it will handle that summary. Okay, so it includes pictures, which is cool. Identifies the successor. Identifies some of the technical differences. So it's showing the iPhone 14 first, then it's showing the iPhone 14 Pro, then it's got a table comparing them, which is cool. I think this is great. And then so it's even jumping into the which one should you buy, and it's saying each phone is really good, but it's really based on your needs, and it's saying ultimately the best way to decide which phone is right for you is to try them both out, see which one you prefer. Well, I don't know, so buy both phones and then I don't know, that's crazy, but it is ultimately up to you and what your priorities are, and maybe in this context of this search, you could dive deeper into saying, hey, I need the phone to be able to do this type of activity, and it will then help you narrow it down. So I'm not a cook, but one thing I know that people, when they try to get recipes and stuff like that, is that they're going to sites that have all kinds of ads and things popping up, and it's just crazy. So all they want is just the recipe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Bard to summarize the recipe on that page, and I've posted the link in there. So let's see how it handles a recipe. All right, so it identifies all the ingredients, and then it's got the instructions, and then it has tips, and it's got a link to the source. You know what? That's exactly what I needed, and I don't have to look at all that craziness in that webpage. I know that craziness is a lot of ads, but it's just too much sometimes. What about video? So I'm a big fan of MKBHD and his crew, and I listen to the Waveform podcast because they're really good. But let's say I want to find out what is get a summary of this video. So let's say I just copy the link to it, and then I go to Bard and I just say summarize this YouTube video, and let's see how it handles that. Okay, this is pointing to a completely different video. So, and I've seen this before, is that it's pointing to a different video, and I don't understand why. So I'm going to definitely say it's a bad response, and I'm just going to say this isn't the YouTube video that I requested. Not sure why it selected this one. So I'm gonna report the issue and submit it. Now what I'm gonna do is, so I've done this, so I've seen this issue before, so I have to tell it, that in addition to the URL, I give the title of the video. So in here is, I've got the link, but I also add the title and who it's by, the WVFRM podcast. And so when I go back to Bard and I say summarize this YouTube video with the title, by Waveform Podcast, and then I put in the URL, normally this will work. Fingers crossed. So yeah, so this is, in this video, yep, they talk about WWDC 2023, and so they talk about the Motorola Razr Plus. So it's a good, I mean, it's really a simplification of the video, but supposedly what happens during the summarization is that the AI will go out and watch the video or grab the text from it and then pull it in and summarize it. So here's a few ways that you could use Google Bard to summarize different types of content. I mean, you could summarize so many things in your world to get things digested simpler, to prioritize things, maybe even, get to a point where the summarization could do some level of automation that maybe we can talk more about in the future. But anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great day.